Hiya, John from Peach Guitars, and today we're looking at the new Ibanez NTS Nu Tubescreamer. Beautiful, look at it. So this one's a little bit different. You know, I'm sure when you saw, you know, like we did when we saw the preview of it, we thought, you know, does the world need another tube screamer? When we see lots of tube screamer type variants from a lot of the boutique type sort of companies and etc, and all the different range that Ibanez that actually do themselves. But this one's a little bit different. This one's the NTS, so the Nu Tubescreamer, which is they're using some technology in it that Korg used with some of their Vox MV amplifiers from 2016. It's basically a vacuum fluorescent display which actually functions as a vacuum tube. So what this gives you basically is there's a lot of advantages. Obviously, being a tube, it's got, you know, absolutely sweet sound to start with, nice big open sound, all the dynamics that you get from a tube or a valve amp, as us Brits know them as, and also it's the longevity. Basically, this will last a lot longer than anything like that you probably would have seen in something like the Ibanez Tube King or the Butler Tube Driver. This will operate as well with a regular power supply, so like a regular 9 volt, or you can actually go up to 18 volts with it as well. So first thing you kind of notice when you play for it is how kind of dynamic it is, and not, you know, sterile sounding at all. It's got a lot more of a bigger open sound, and it's also got the addition of a mix control, so you can blend in some more of the clean signal and use it as a pure boost, or you can go more of the actual pedal circuit to 100% kind of, it's like a 100% fully wet signal, like you get on a, you know, like a mix control on a wet and dry on a like a delay pedal or something like that. So without further ado, I will give you a quick blast. I'm going to run through a few different settings on the pedal. I'm going to basically show you how it sounds on a clean channel on an amp, go through a few different settings on there, and I'm also going to show you how it sounds on a more driven amp, because we find that there's two types of tube screamer type sort of players. You've got the Stevie Ray sort of tone searching people like me that use it in front of like a Fendery type sort of clean amp just set to break up, or the higher gain guys that, you know, kind of use a real high gain sound and then using the tube screamer to tighten up the low end. So yeah, there you go. I'm going to give you a run through and let us know what you think. We're just going to run it at 9 volt. To start with, I've got everything at halfway. I'm just going to bypass, make sure it's bypassed. No, right, it's bypassed now. This is the clean signal that we're using. So it's pretty clean with just a tiny small amount of breakup on it. So right, I'm going to engage the tube screamer now. Yeah, the first thing that you notice there straight away, it's still got the dynamics, and it feels a lot more like, you know, an organic sounding, you know, channel on an amp or a cranked up amp. It doesn't have that pedal kind of sound and feel. It's a hard thing to describe, but like a lot of the old tube screamers, and even my old original 70s one that we're going to plug in a bit, through a really clean amp, it still feels like you're playing through a pedal, but this is a lot more juicy, a lot more open sounding. So I'm just going to crank up the drive a little bit more now. So the driver on about 3 o'clock, tone's still about halfway, and the level is on half as well. So I'm using a HSS exotic guitar here. So this is how it sounds on the single coil. And then when you go to the humbucker, you get more of this kind of sound. really sounds like a pretty sweet second channel on a top quality amp. So just going to roll the drive back now and use it just to push the front end of the amp a little bit harder instead. So back to the bypass sound, and now this is with the pedal on. Something like that. Anyway, so what I'll do is I'm going to back the mix down to about a quarter, so you're going to hear a little bit more of the kind of the dry signal and more of a boosted clean sound kind of come through. So that works really well. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it on this kind of setting now. Let me just turn it off, and I'm going to go to more of a higher gain sound on the amp. So let's try that. Turn the reverb off. Kind of a nice thick sounding kind of Marshall-esque type sort of tone. Now I'm going to use the NTS just to push the front end of the amp harder. I'm going to kind of, yeah, like I say, I'll keep these settings where we are. So we've got the mix down, the drive on about 9 o'clock, and I'm just going to crank up the level just a little bit more to kind of push the amp a little bit harder, bring some extra harmonics out and tighten up the low end. So this is bypass. Now with the tube screamer on. He's still doing that classic tube screamer thing of just tightening up the bottom end and helping you cut through just a little bit more. You can really feel it there, it's really tightening up the bass notes. So this is the bypass sound. And then you hit that one there. Excellent. I'm going to bring a little bit more of the drive in now to give you a little bit of extra compression and sustain. Just going to basically put everything back to kind of halfway here, just to give you a little bit more sustain, like I say. So this is how a lot of people would use it, just to give you some extra drive for solos. So it's the bypass sound. And now just with a little bit of extra drive for solos and stuff. So now I'm going to switch back to the clean sound of the amp. Again, you've got a pretty kind of neutral sounding tone in the middle. If you want to crank it up, you get a bit more top end. Or you want to mellow it out a little bit more, cut it back to around about there. There you go. What we're going to do now is plug in my original old 70s tube screamer, TS808, and just we'll use some similar settings, and you can just get a feel for what the differences are in the tone. But I'm absolutely loving this so far. This is just one that the guys at Headstock UK, the Ibanez, the guys for the UK, gave us to do a demo with. I literally got it out the box about 10 minutes before we started recording this, and yeah, I think it's absolutely superb. Really, drive pedals and distortion pedals are so hard to describe the sound, until you actually feel it and play it for yourself. But this feels so much more enjoyable to play than even my original old Tube Screamer. It just feels a lot more real and a lot more kind of natural sounding. So let's get the old one plugged in, James. Cool, right, okay, we're back now. So this is a late 70s Ibanez Tube Screamer, TS808 SRV Special, which is probably the reason why I own it. I've had it for probably getting on for 20 years now. So let me give you a quick run of how that one sounds. Switch to the new one, the NTS. I don't know, just like hearing it in the room, the new Tube Screamer, the NTS has just got kind of well, it's just got more of a, feels like it has more of an open sound, and just kind of a bit more richer, a little bit more low end. I mean, the old one still sounds absolutely killer as well, but I just think the new one's just got a little bit more, you know, dynamics and a bit more range to the overall tone. Let's give it a little bit more drive on the old one. Let's push him up there and bring the level up. So we're just going to push the front end of the amp a little bit harder. So it's the bypass tone again. So now with the old one. I'll go for the same kind of settings on the new tube. It just feels a lot more enjoyable to play. I mean, they both sound brilliant. I'm not going to go out and sell my original, but I could easily see myself using the original old one on the board and the new one as well for different kind of sounds. Yeah, so we've got one more thing to do. Let's try running the Tube Screamer, the new one, at 18 volts and 9 volts and see if we can kind of hear much of a difference going on there. Let's try that. Right, so I'm going to go back to halfway on all the settings here. So now we're actually running the pedal at 18 volts. So normally we generally find that when the overdrive pedals and boost pedals and stuff that can run up to 18 volts, when you go up to that 18 volts, it kind of increases the dynamics and the headroom of the pedal. So you kind of have, you know, a little bit more level to play with, and you can kind of push the drive up kind of higher without it kind of breaking up quite so much. So let's try, yeah, like I say, everything halfway, 18 volts. Let's see how we get on. Right, now just going to quickly pop it over into the 9 volt one. So 9 volt, same kind of licks. Massive difference. That feels a little bit more kind of compressed and kind of less open sounding. I'm going to go back to the 18 volt one now. More dynamics definitely there, I thought. Cool, right, well that kind of says it all, I think, for today. Hope you enjoyed it. come and try one out. That's what I'd say would be the best thing to do with a pedal like this. You know, boost pedals and overdrives, you know, there's so many great ones on the market, but if you play a Strat through a cleanish Fendery sort of style amp, or you play a humbucker guitar, you know, through a higher gain amp, and I think this would be a great pedal for any type of kind of guitar player anyway. So hope you enjoy it, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.